Welcome everyone to Tales from the 90s podcast. This is my bonus episode number 8. This is an episode for May. They're just barely getting out at the end of May. I meant to have it at the beginning of the month. But anyway, this is Saturday Morning Kids TV. And I know I'm not, it's normally called Saturday Morning Cartoons, but I didn't just involve cartoons. I got kids shows in here too. There's a few of those because they're not cartoons, but I wanted to involve them. And if you hear the dogs barking, sorry, they're going nuts. My wife just went to the store, so they're going nuts waiting for her to get back. My voice holds out for this. But in the morning, I can't talk. The obligatory warning about the air conditioner kicking on and off. But anyway, this is a top 50 ranking. This is just my ranking. It's not anything official, and if you guys are completely different on it, that's perfectly fine. I've done one for my favorite horror movies of all time, and one for my favorite Nickelodeon shows that were on during the time period I was watching. And speaking of the time period, for this one, I'm just doing the cartoons that aired from the year I was born, 1983, till the year 2000. I mean, if they aired a little after that, it's fine, but as long as it came on, premiered during that time, or ended during that time. So, there'll be some like, why ain't that on there? And there'll also be like, no G.I. Joe. There's no G.I. Joe because it wasn't on the regular Saturday morning cartoons. I'm just sticking to network TV. ABC, CBS, NBC, and then later Fox would join, and also Kids WB. So they had to have been on during those times. Not just, G.I. Joe, everybody assumes is a Saturday morning cartoon. It actually wasn't on network. It was on USA on Saturday mornings, and it was on the networks in syndication, but not, Saturday morning. But anyway, this is my list, and you can agree or disagree, whatever. But anyway, coming in at number 50.
Winning smile, I'm a living lesson in flair and style. You just can't help but stare at my savoir-faire. I'm nouveau, deco, Roman, Greco, Rococo, Baroque, bebop, hip-hop, flip-flop. Somebody stop me!
Is The Mask, the animated series. There's a lot of these, I'll say the name and the animated series, because a lot of these based on movies and movie franchises. This is no different. Everybody remembers The Mask, Jim Carrey, a classic movie, and I think there was Son of Mask, but it had nothing to do with this cartoon. Anyway, I'll give a little bit of facts for these, but not much. I'm just going off of memory. I may not spend much time with them at all. I may spend a lot more time with other ones. I don't want to make this like a history episode. I'm sure you can find all kinds of documentaries and overviews of these series and cartoons and stuff. But anyway, The Mask went from 3 seasons, from August 1995 to August 1997 on CBS. It uses several plot points from the movie. The way it differs is, in the movie, he could only put the mask on at night. This is a kid's show, and a lot more happens, so they can't just keep it at night, so he'll have it on during the day. And it's obviously not Jim Carrey's voice, but it's based on him. And just, if anybody's seen the Mask movie, it's crazy. It was basically a cartoon in movie form, so it fits the cartoon genre better. And just because it's last don't mean like I thought it was crappy. It's just I didn't have a lot of experience watching it. I watched a few episodes on, like, some of them I've seen the whole thing, or a bunch of them. So some of these are just lower because I don't have that much experience. Now, I'm not going to take too long on each one, like I said. Moving on to number 49.
Super Mario, Super Mario World.
Super Mario World, it's a blast from the past. It's Super Mario World, you got to move.
Yeah, number 49 is Super Mario World. This went from 1 season from September to December of 1991 on NBC. And it's actually the 3rd Mario cartoon. Spoiler alert, one of the other Mario cartoons is a little bit higher up. Didn't include the Super Mario Super Show, which is the first one. The one everybody knows more, where it has live action Mario, and then the cartoon with Captain Lou Albano as Mario, because that wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon. But in this one, it's obviously based on the Super Mario World game that came out for Nintendo Game... I was going to say Game Boy. Super Nintendo, if I can speak today. It came out for Super Nintendo. Obviously, that was the big one. The big game that came out with Super Nintendo. Everybody remembers Super Mario World. Of course, my favorite part of that was the one that was packaged with the classic Marios 1, 2, and 3, and then the Lost Levels, which was actually supposed to be Mario Brothers 2. And it was in Japan, but it was a little too hard for Americans, so they gave us that strange game, that Super Mario 2, that's based on the Japanese game Doki Doki Panic, which I say that strange game, it's actually my favorite Mario game of all time. Just because how different it is, and I like the different powers. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Super Mario World. Yeah, a lot of the characters in it were in the video game, and it didn't have Toad, because of course Super Mario World didn't have Toad either. A lot of people were kind of upset that Toad was left out of the franchise, but he would definitely make a return. But coming in at number 48.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky.
Number 48 is the Addams Family cartoon. Now, if you see my top 50 Nickelodeon list, some of these will repeat. Like, the Addams Family was on there too. And my rules for the Nickelodeon one were, it just had to have aired on Nickelodeon. It didn't have to be an original. It could be, syndicated. It could have been, I had Underdog in there. That's obviously from the 60s. But anyway, the Addams Family had 2 seasons from September 1992 to November 93 on ABC. And was created after the Addams Family movie in 1991 came out. It was real successful. Everybody remembers that, and the Addams Family Values, those 90s movies. Great movies. Of course, loved the classic black and white series. The cartoon was really good too. Reminded me in a lot of ways of Beetlejuice. Not exactly the same level of craziness, but it was still a really fun cartoon. Now, coming in at number 47. Number 47, we have our second of Jim Carrey cartoons. Well, Jim Carrey movie-based cartoons, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. I found out Dumb and Dumber's one. I don't like the movie, and I never seen the cartoon, so it wouldn't make the list. But anyway, there was 3 seasons of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective from December 1995 to February 2000 on CBS. And the first 2 seasons actually aired on CBS. The third one, and then other reruns ran on Nickelodeon. But anyway, it was still Saturday morning cartoon. It was the only one of the Jim Carrey shows that actually got the rights to use Jim Carrey's face. Like, I guess that cost extra or something, or I don't know. But anyway, it takes place after both movies. The first Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and then Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. I only seen When Nature Calls a couple times. But it was a good movie, but the first one I've seen a million times. But just like with The Mask, Jim Carrey is such a wacky cartoon character in Ace Ventura. It fits perfectly with cartoons. Loved watching this. Full disclosure, I never actually watched it on Saturday mornings. I'd only seen it on syndication. Some of these are like that on here. But, they were Saturday morning cartoons. They were on, so I'm going to include them. My list, I kind of make up my own rules on my list. But it was a Saturday morning cartoon. It's just, you only got so many cartoons you can watch on Saturday. Sometimes you have your favorites, so you don't get to watch some of them on the actual Saturday. But, syndication, it's on 5 days a week, so that's where you get to watch it the most. Coming in at number 46. And number 46, another movie-based cartoon, Men in Black, the animated series. This ran for 4 seasons from October 1997 to June 2001 on Kids WB. Of course, the WB was the last network to join the Saturday Morning Kids. But it was technically an over-the-air, whatever you want to call it, antenna local channel, so it counts as one of those. It takes place after the first movie, but in an alternative timeline, if I can speak today. Agent K retired at the end of the first one. Of course, they'd bring him back for the second one, but he retired after the first one. But in this timeline, he's still working there, and Agent J, was played by Will Smith, his character. He was still a rookie in it, so it's kind of like he was in training during it. So I guess you could say that maybe it took place like sort of in the middle of the movie, like little side missions or something. But anyway, lasted 4 seasons, and it had a kind of a darker tone. Some of these cartoons on here have had a darker tone, but that's definitely one of them. And love the Men in Black movies. I didn't see the newest one, I don't think. I've seen the first 3, and those are good. And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it with that. Coming in at number 45.
On the road to glory, ain't no turning back. Got to be the man is up on the crack of time.
Number 45, yet again another movie-based franchise, The Mighty Ducks, the animated series. It ran from 1 season from September 96 to January 1997 on ABC. Of course, ABC had been bought by Disney. I believe that's how, they got bought by Disney. But talk about not matching the tone of the movie franchise. Like you see before, The Mask, pretty much he was the same character. Ace Ventura, same character. Men in Black, they did the same things. And this, it wasn't a bunch of kids playing hockey or even like them growing up. It was literal ducks, like from another planet or something, that played hockey. So it was cartoon ducks. I mean, it worked. It was goofy. I've seen a few episodes of it. Not a ton of memories with it. It's just one of those, they had so many in the 90s. I know they did in the 80s too, but my time period where I remember the most of the 90s, I remember so many of those just movies getting turned into them. But let's move on to number 44.
The Super Mario Brothers rescued Princess Toadstool and beat back the evil Koopa family. Get those bloomers!
Coming in at number 44, our second of our Mario cartoons, it's The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3. It ran from 1 season from September to December 1990 on NBC. And it's the second Mario cartoon, because the one we talked about at number 49 was Super Mario World. This is largely based on the Super Mario 3 and the characters in that, and it was one I remember more than Super Mario World. But just love watching those classic Mario cartoons. Can't go wrong with any of them, really. Coming at number 43.
We are the Berenstain Bears.
Mama,
Papa,
sister, brother.
we appreciate each other. We live in a squint level tree.
Mama, Papa, sister, and me.
Number 43, we have the Berenstain Bears. They ran from 2 seasons from September 1985 to December 1986 on CBS. And of course, everybody knows the Berenstain Bears mostly as the book series, and that's what came out first, obviously. Each of these episodes, like a lot of cartoons, were separated into 2 segments. You'd have one segment before commercial, and then you'd have another one, and a lot of them were different stories like this. But in this case, the first segment was always based on a story from one of the books, and the second one was an original one written. Is that a word? You guys are learned something in school. Anyway, written separately for the TV show. So it's kind of a cool thing where you get one of the books, you actually get to see it in cartoon form, and then you get to see an original story. But coming in at number 42.
It's the Tom and Jerry kids. Gotta be there where all the action is.
Number 42 is Tom and Jerry Kids. This show or cartoon ran from 4 seasons from September 1990 to December 1993 on Fox Kids. And it's just like with the movie series, there was a time in cartoons when they would take these really popular and long-running cartoons and then make them kids. You'll see Flintstone Kids coming soon, just as a spoiler. But yeah, they took Tom and Jerry and basically made them as kids. And taking all the stuff into that world and making them as kids. It got a lot of life out of older series that people had seen forever. I mean, nobody ever really was tired of Tom and Jerry, but you know, it was something new that they could put out that was, you know, wasn't just reruns from 30 or 40 years. Speaking of that, coming in at number 41. Number 40.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now.
41 is Scooby-Doo. It pretty much is a continuing franchise since like the late 60s, 1969, I think. There was several variations of this. You know, you had the Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Scooby-Doo and I don't know if Scooby-Doo and Friends was one. Sounds like it would be, but I'm not sure. But then there was Scrappy-Doo, and there was, of course, the Scooby-Doo as teenagers. Just a lot of different variations that ran on various different Saturday morning lineups. It was, I believe, it was probably on ABC, CBS, and NBC all at different times. But I mean, everybody knows Scooby-Doo, the classic teenagers that got to solve the mysteries with Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, and just can't go wrong with those cartoons. And there was just seems like there was always on at some point during Saturday mornings, not just my time period of watching, you know, my parents' time period of watching it. The show is so old, but you know, they would do reruns and they would do newer versions. It's just, I kind of looped them all into one, as I'll do with one that's coming up real soon. Coming in at number 40 is Pinky and...
Jude, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a
The Brain.
genius, the other's
Pinky and the Brain
insane.
ran for 4 seasons from September 1995 to November 1998 on Kids WB, and that was a spinoff from the Animaniacs, which is just a crazy cartoon. But the Pinky and the Brain segments became so popular that they gave them their own show. And of course, Pinky and the Brain is the whole joke. What are we gonna do tonight, Pinky? Same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world. And they try to take over the world, and Pinky would screw it up, and Brain would be annoyed with him. Just so much fun to be had with that cartoon. Like I said, it was so popular as a segment on the Animaniacs that they had to get their own cartoon. We're coming in now at number 39. It is our... first non-cartoon on the list. It is Land of the Lost, the 1991 version. This ran for 2 seasons from September 1991 to December 1992 on ABC. And I covered this on my top 50 Nickelodeon shows. It's actually where I seen Land of the Lost first, when it was in syndication on Nickelodeon. Obviously, it was a Saturday morning show first, and I like this one. I do not like the one from the 70s. It's just too weird. But the 1991 version I just love. All the characters that they meet. You know, it's about this family. They're in their Jeep, and they find this portal into like this other dimension or something. And there's all these creatures, and you know, they gotta figure out, you know, how to get back, but also how to survive in this world where they don't know like which creatures they can trust, which ones are their friends, which they end up having a bunch of friends. But there's also enemies and stuff they gotta watch out for too. And at number 38. Number 30.
Oh, the curtain lights. This is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing apart. We know every card by heart.
38 is a big one. It's all Looney Tunes spin-offs. And that includes Merry Melodies. There's a list I gotta read from here. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Sylvester and Tweety, Speedy Gonzales, Taz, all of them. But so it's just all of them kind of lumped together, because that's been kind of a joke on my regular podcast. If you watch it, is when I go through a Saturday morning cartoon lineup or even a Nickelodeon lineup, it's like, how many variations of Looney Tunes are we going to find this week? Because there always seems to be one or two, sometimes 3 or 4 on different channels at the same time, you know. But anyway, I went and looked up the cartoons that were on during my time period. Look at the screen. We've got the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show. Of course, the one I didn't mention there, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. They're my favorites of that whole Looney Tunes universe. I love the Roadrunner cartoons. I was always, you know, I laughed and wanted Roadrunner to win, but I was always just hoping once that Wile E. Coyote would just get him. But I don't. If he ever did, let me know, because I'd never seen one he did. But anyway, we got the Sylvester and Tweety, Daffy and Speedy show all together there. Sylvester and Tweety and Daffy and Speedy. Of course, Speedy Gonzales has been canceled. We know that crap. I ain't getting into all that. Then we got the Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes Comedy Hour. Bugs Bunny kind of getting the top billing there. The Bugs Bunny and Tweety show, which is one that I'm always finding on the lineup, is probably the one that was on the most during the 90s. Merry Melody starring Bugs Bunny and Friends. Again, Bugs Bunny getting the top billing. And Bugs and Daffy. So just all of those classic ones I kind of looped into one. I didn't want to make a whole bunch for them because they'd leave a lot off the list if I listed all those. And there might even be more that wasn't even listed on the Wikipedia pages where I found the, you know, the years and stuff that I'm looking up for this stuff. Next is number 37. Coming in at number 37, the first of these two cartoons from this franchise, Alf Tales. Of course, 2 seasons, I'll get into the specifics. 2 seasons from September 1988 to December 89 on NBC. Of course, NBC was the home of Alf. It's actually a spinoff of a spinoff. One of those, the spinoff that it actually came from is Alf the Animated Series, which is a little higher up in the list. I'll talk about that then. But of course, it's all spun off of the TV show Alf that ran for 4 seasons about the alien. Of course, it was live action with a puppet. But these are cartoons. And Alf Tales is, if anybody remembers, I think it was during either Underdog or Rocky and Bullwinkle, or it might have been both, the little cartoon shorts called the Fractured Fairy Tales, which may have been its own series at one point, I'm not sure. But they're basically fairy tales, but told in like a crazy way. That was pretty much Alf Tales, just using Alf and the people from his universe from the Adventures, or the Alf the Animated Series, which I'll get into that a little bit once we get into that. But it was pretty much fairy tales told from Alf's weird point of view. Coming in at number 36. Number 36, I don't have a lot of experience with, but I had to put it on the list because I have watched a couple episodes, and it's me, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. It ran for 2 seasons from September 1985 to October 1986, and I forgot to write down what network it was on. But everybody that knows me these days know of my just almost utter hatred for Hulk Hogan and all his lies and racism and all that, so I'll leave that out of this. This was the 80s. Hulk Hogan in wrestling was, WWF especially, was big at this point. And this cartoon was basically Hogan had like his group of hero wrestlers, and Roddy Piper had like the heels, which were the bad guys, just like you see on any other cartoon, but now it's, you know, it's as wrestlers. But just a lot of fun, a lot of cheesiness, a lot of nostalgic 80s there for you. Coming in at number 35. Number 35 is Sonic the Hedgehog. Of course, I listed the Mario cartoons earlier, and Sonic the Hedgehog I had a lot more experience actually watching. It ran for 2 seasons from September 1993 to December 94 on ABC. And it's the second of the Sonic cartoons. The first one's probably more well known, called The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, but it was only in syndication. It wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon, so That's why it's not included here, or it would be higher up, or it would have made the list over this one. Not that this one's bad. It's just this is a little darker than the original, like with the villains on it. It was kid friendly, but it wasn't. It was a little more. It's not like. I guess the violence was a little bit more, is why it was that. But some of the characters from this cartoon actually appeared in my favorite. Well, can't say favorite. Probably third favorite Sonic game of all time. My favorite is Sonic Adventure, followed by Sonic Adventure 2 for Sega Dreamcast. But my third favorite Sonic, and my favorite of the Sega Genesis ones, was Sonic Spinball, which was just a pinball game, but it's still my favorite Sonic game. And like I said, some of the characters from this cartoon actually appeared in that game as kind of a crossover, so that's pretty cool. Coming in at number 34.
California raisins from the California vineyards.
Don't you know that I heard it through the grapevine?
Sounds better than what I got.
Number 34 is the California Raisin Show. It only had one season from September to December 1989, but this, I think it was Claymation series, just left a huge mark on me. I heard it through the grapevine with the California Raisins singing, and of course they would sing like the Motown style songs. And it was just there. I remember those little PVC, I think they're called, figures. Like it seemed like every kid had a bunch of Smurf figures and a bunch of California Raisins figures. But just that, I guess you call it a show. I don't know if it's claymation. I guess it's a cross between a cartoon and a show. But it left such an impression on me, and I only seen it a few episodes, and I probably seen it in syndication a few times too. But just so many great memories of that. That was just such a weird one, with just like the Raisins singing Motown hits that I found out is actually was made by like California, like the California State Board of like trying to get people to eat raisins is why it was made in the first place. It's like a weird origin of a show, but that's why, and it left a ton of memories in me. Number 33.
Ladies and gentlemen, Garfield and friends.
We're ready to party.
We're ready to party. We're ready.
I hope you bring lots of spaghetti.
Number 33 is Garfield and Friends. Classic. Ran for 7 seasons from September 1988 to December 94 on CBS. And everybody knows Garfield and Friends. The franchise is huge, of course, based on the comic strips originally. And I told this in the Nickelodeon one because it was on that Jim Davis, I believe is his name, who created the Garfield strip, was actually trying to get Orson and his friends on the farm, was trying to get that a cartoon, but the people that were the network, I'm guessing CBS is where they started, told them that Garfield would actually probably be a better cartoon for kids, but he could add the friends on the farm as part of it, so that's how it became Garfield and Friends. So originally, he wanted that, I guess there was more depth because there was more characters on the farm, but Garfield, and CBS obviously was proven right because Garfield became huge. Coming in at number 32. Number 32. Is the Smurfs. Everybody remembers this. Ran for 9 seasons from September 81 to December 89 on NBC. Just an iconic cartoon. The theme song, just the concept of the little Smurfs just running around the woods had a lot of kids wondering wonder if there really are Smurfs. And of course Gargamel, the idiot that was always trying to get rid of the Smurfs, and who actually created the only female Smurf on there, who then became good. And of course, Papa Smurf, their leader, the one everybody knows the most. But so much going on in that Smurfs universe, and of course, they later came out with the movies and stuff, and the reboot series, which I obviously didn't care for. Coming in at number 31.
Heathcliff, no one should terrify their neighborhood. But Heathcliff just won't be undone, playing pranks on everyone.
Just like on Nickelodeon, number 31, well, I don't remember what number it was, but Heathcliff the cat. I was going to say, just like on Nickelodeon, Heathcliff ranks above Garfield in my opinion, because I always enjoyed Heathcliff more. It ran for 2 seasons, from September 84 to September 85 in syndication, and also Saturday morning cartoons. And like I said, later on Nickelodeon is where I remember seeing it first. But, you know, it's Heathcliff the alley cat, and there would be the segment with all the alley cats in it. You know, it's kind of like the little gang. They all talk in their like New York accents. But for some reason, I always loved Heathcliff more than Garfield. Not that I didn't like Garfield. Obviously, I did, but Heathcliff, and a lot had to do with that theme song. It got stuck in my head. It definitely had the better theme song than Garfield. Coming in at number 30 is Gargoyles. Probably one of the darkest cartoons on this list. It ran for 3 seasons, from September 96 to February 97 on ABC, but it was actually first aired on the USA Network, but they had their USA Express, I think they called it, cartoon lineup, where, like I said, they had G.I. Joe on there and a lot of other ones. But Gargoyles, you know, was based on like, you know, the mythic gargoyles that are stone, and then at night they can, you know, come alive. Well, that was, and it was a Disney show, but it was like one of the darkest things Disney had, because, you know, they're like, you know, the main gargoyle was Goliath, and, you know, they went through like the pain of, you know, what it was like to be a gargoyle and had to be frozen during the day. Like, it was a darker tone for a cartoon, but, you know, it kind of, you know, that time period, it was, you know, kids were getting into the darker things, you know, heavy metal was coming in. I'm not saying, you know, heavy metal people had to watch Gargoyles. It's just, you know, there was a darker tone almost sort of coming, so Gargoyles kind of really fit that. Coming in at number 29. Number 29 on my list is the Flintstone Kids. Ran for 2 seasons, from September 86 to November 87 on ABC, and was just the Flintstones as kids. You know, what more can you say there? Loved the Flintstones. It wasn't on Saturday mornings when I was watching TV. It was on reruns all the time on every channel, especially TBS. But, you know, so I can't include the Flintstones or the Jetsons in this as much as I want to, because it wasn't my time period. You know, that's the kind of, you know, maybe someday I'll make a list of like greatest cartoons ever or something, and they'll definitely be on the list. But yeah, the Flintstone Kids, a lot of memories of watching that. Coming in now, number 28. Number 28, we have Inspector Gadget, which I remember watching first on Nickelodeon, but it was first a CBS Saturday morning cartoon. It ran 2 seasons, from September 83 to November 1985. And of course, everybody knows Inspector Gadget, the bumbling idiot detective that's got to get his niece and her dog Brain to solve the crimes for him. And the chief always hands Inspector Gadget the self-destructing note, and it always gets thrown on him and blows up. I've said it time and time again. Why did he have to make it self-destructing anyway? Why did it have to be such a secret? And 2, he knew what was going to happen with it. Just, I don't know. And he tried to hide in garbage cans. He'd still get, no matter what happened. That was, but, and the Go-Go Gadget copter and Go-Go Gadget arm and the van that turned into the car. Just so much freaking cool stuff from that cartoon that a kid, you know, my age growing up watching it, probably in, you know, 8 or 9 on, just the coolest things in the world. Everybody wanted to be Inspector Gadget, except we actually wanted to solve the crimes and be smart. Coming in at number 27. Number 27, we've got Dennis the Menace, the cartoon. Obviously, there was a movie in the 90s that was well known. Loved that one, and the TV series from the 60s. And of course, it was a comic strip originally, but my favorite version is the Dennis the Menace from the 80s. It ran for 2 seasons, from September 86 to March of 88. And the first season was syndication, but the second was a Saturday morning cartoon, so it counts. But each episode had 3 segments in it instead of the normal 2. And of course, Dennis the Menace, the little brat kid that's always causing trouble, and always causing trouble for Mr. Wilson next door. Just, he was such a brat, but he was also lovable at the same time. So just love Dennis the Menace. Number 26. Number 26. We got X-Men, the animated series. Ran for 5 seasons from October 92 to September 97 on Fox Kids. And I've talked about this before. I don't like superhero movies almost across the board. Don't like any of the X-Men movies, but I loved this series in the 90s. You know, it's the first time I'd ever encountered the X-Men. I didn't read the comic books. The only comic books I've read is Tales from the Crypt. But I love the different one. Of course, Wolverine was probably my favorite. A lot of people's favorites. But, you know, Cyclops and, you know, all of them. Just sit and watch these things over and over again. Reminds me a lot of another series that I'll be talking about in a little bit later. We're at the halfway point now, coming in at number 25.
Welcome to Atlantis Way, under, down, under. The sky's always yellow in rain or shine.
Down to Tasmania, come to Tasmania.
Number 25 is Tasmania. It ran from, where we go? There it is. 4 seasons from September 91 to May 95 on Fox Kids. I mostly seen this during the afternoon. It was like an afternoon get home from school thing before I started watching Boy Meets World reruns. This would be my thing to watch. But anyway, it was a Saturday morning cartoon, and it was all about the character Taz. And I know he was part of the Bugs Bunny Looniverse, pretty much. And I should have lumped it in there, but it's its own show. It wasn't just reruns of Looney Tunes. You know, it was Taz and all the Taz-like creatures over in Tasmania, just running crazy and going crazy. Just a lot of fun, a lot of craziness in that cartoon. A lot of these cartoons are just, you know, they're either dark, they're based on movies or video games, or they're off the wall zany. Anyway, speaking of that, number 24. Hey
Vern, today's your lucky day. We knew you wouldn't want to oversleep, Vern. We only do it once a week, Vern. Me and all the other guys, Vern. We even brought the pies, Vern.
It's Ernest, which I never actually seen, but I now own on DVD and seen a few episodes and got to finish the season. But it's 1 season from September to December 1988 on CBS. It actually won 2 Daytime Emmy Awards, one for Jim Varney, an outstanding actor. But like I said, I haven't seen many of them yet, but from what I've seen, it's hilarious. It's just like a variety show with Ernest. That's what you'd expect. Just, you know, craziness. Another actor that they could have had a cartoon series of Ernest and it would have done well. You know, even if it didn't have the Ernest voice, which it should have, you know, that would have done well. That's one of the things I wish they could have had. If they ever do bring back Ernest, I hope that it's a cartoon version and not somebody trying to play him. But anyway, on to number 23. And coming.
When I wake up in the morning and the alarm gets out of warning, I don't think I'll ever make it on time. By the time I grab my books and I give myself a look, I'm at the corner just in time to see the bus fly by. It's alright, 'cause I'm saved by the bell.
At number 23 is Saved by the Bell. It ran for 4 seasons from August 89 to May 1993 on NBC. It was a spinoff of a Disney show called Good Morning Miss Bliss, which I'd never even heard of until a few years ago. I found out, I couldn't believe it was a spinoff from something. But it actually spawned several other shows, including Saved by the Bell: The College Years, which I watched a couple episodes. Saved by the Bell: The New Class, I may have watched an episode or two, I'm not sure. And then a reboot in 2020, which I never watched, obviously. I don't care about newer shows, obviously. But, yeah, 4 seasons, and I mostly seen it in syndication, because on Saturday mornings, it was on, when this was on, NBC was doing its TNBC, the teen shows, a lot of basketball shows, and just shows I really wasn't interested in. I was watching the cartoons on the other channels. I would watch Saved by the Bell on reruns and syndication, afternoons. But, of course, Screech is everybody's favorite character from that, but everybody knows Saved by the Bell. Zach was basically the main character, and you just follow these kids through high school and watch them get in trouble and try to find their ways out of trouble. Usually they didn't, and they got in trouble for it, but they learned their lesson until next week. Coming in at number 22.
Follow me to a place where incredible feats are routine every hour or so. Where enchantment runs rampant, just wild in the streets. Open sesame, here we go! Arabian nights, like Arabian days. They tease and excite, take off and take flight.
22 is Disney's Aladdin, the animated series. This ran for 3 seasons from February 94 to February 95, and it premiered on Disney, but then starting in the Saturday morning on the second season on CBS. This was before ABC was bought by Disney, so they would show Disney shows on CBS. But this actually took place right after Return of Jafar, basically in the timeline of movies, and it was just following Aladdin on daily adventures. It's basically what they would do with a lot of Disney stuff. They did it with The Little Mermaid, and one that I'll be talking about later on. But, it was like with the movies, it was a real popular thing, especially with the Disney. It was already a cartoon universe, so they just, basically continued it. Coming in at number 21 was Disney's Doug. Now, if you watch my Nickelodeon bonus episode with the top 50 shows and cartoons on that, you'd see Doug was listed much higher. That was before Disney bought it out. After it was bought by Disney, they ran for 3 seasons from September 96 to June 99 on ABC. And I've talked before on podcasts, it kind of lost the heart and soul of it, really. It was the same animation and the same voices, I think, but they changed the theme song, and it just wasn't the same as Nickelodeon's Disney. I don't know if they had the same writers or different ones, but just obviously something changed. I highly prefer Doug on Nickelodeon to Disney's, but I will watch it. And of course, they came out with the actual finale of the series was, I think it's called Doug's Big Movie, and it pretty much bombed at the box office because nobody was watching Doug at that point because, they were over it because it just wasn't the same. But, still a great show to watch. It's the tale of Doug, going to school and being in love with Patty Mayonnaise and dealing with the school bully and Roger, and just, it was, one of the first 3 original Nicktoons, and it was sad that Disney bought them out because I wish they would have stayed with Nickelodeon and continued the way they were going. Coming in at number 20 is kind of a weird one. Number 20 is Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. A lot of people don't like this. I like it for what it is. It only ran 1 season from September 97 to May 98 on Fox Kids. It was a live-action Turtles series. And it introduced the female turtle, known as Venus de Milo, because they had to keep the painter theme going with the names, I guess. But it was strange. It was ran by Saban, who did Power Rangers. And, it was strange, but, Tails, you don't like it? My dog Tails don't like it. But for what it was, you know, it was alright. You know, I definitely wouldn't put it higher as another Turtles thing that's coming later on, which obviously you had to know that was coming. But for what it was enjoyable. I haven't seen the whole thing, so I don't know if it got just absolutely stupid. I know they did a crossover with Power Rangers in a few episodes, which was really cool to see. That was actually my first time seeing or even hearing about the Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. I was like, what is this? Why are the Turtles in here all of a sudden? And why is there a light blue one that seems to be a female? Just, you know. They tried, but, you know, it obviously didn't last. Stop, guys. Coming in at number 19 is DuckTales.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Woo!
Everybody knows the classic theme song to this. Everybody knows the reboot, which sucked, but anyway. The original ran for 4 seasons from September 87 to November 1990. It was originally in syndication and ended up on ABC's Saturday morning lineup. And, you know, DuckTales, obviously, the nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, were the nephews of Donald Duck. And the story was, I think Donald was like going away or something, so he left him with his uncle Scrooge McDuck to watch, and they just ran roughshod and caused mischief and everything. But yeah, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I had so many toys of them, of DuckTales, when I was a kid. You know, from Happy Meals or Kids Meals, and just toys bought at the store. I was in love with DuckTales. Number 18. Number 18.
Wind, water, heart, go planet!
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet.
Captain Planet, he's our hero. Gonna take pollution down to 0.
Is Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Ran for 6 seasons from September 1990 to May 96. It was originally created by Ted Turner and on TBS, was later on syndication and Kids WB, so it counts. But obviously I seen it on TBS first. It was created, and if you've seen the show, you'd be able to tell this. But Ted Turner was married to Jane Fonda, who is a huge environmentalist, which made him one. I don't know if he was before, and they, you know, that's how they met. But anyway, it was created because, you know, it was meant to show how the environment's being torn apart. The villains were meant to be like, you know, representatives of, you know, people that are trying, you know, to tear up the ozone layer and all that. And, you know, they have the Planeteers, and when you put all their rings together, they summon Captain Planet, who, you know, I think it was it Mother Gaia, I think, was the one that was basically over them all. And then, you know, Captain Planet was like, almost like, if you've never seen this before, almost picture the Power Rangers summoning their Zords, or putting all their Zords together to the Megazord. That Captain Planet was pretty much Megazord. But yeah, the theme song from that is iconic. Love that one. Captain Planet, he's our hero, gonna take pollution down to 0. Yes, I just did that. Up at number 17. Number 7. Is Bobby's World. Love this cartoon. Ran for 7 seasons from September 1990 to February 98 on Fox Kids. It was one of the original Fox Kids, which I don't remember if it was called Fox Kids at the beginning. One of the original Fox cartoons from the lineup, and it obviously it was created by Howie Mandel, featuring him, supposedly him as a kid named Bobby, and, you know, his crazy family. I'm sure some of it was. My wife just got home. Some of it was something from his family life, but it was a great cartoon. Coming in at number 16, Beetlejuice, the animated series. This ran for 4 seasons from September 89 to December 91 on ABC, and then later on Fox afternoon cartoon lineup. This was obviously based on the Beetlejuice movie, which I've talked about before. I don't really care for the Beetlejuice movie, but I love the cartoon. the main difference in the cartoon is in the movie, like the girl Lydia hated Beetlejuice, but in the cartoon they're friends for some reason. I guess I got to do something to continue the series. Number 15. Number 15 is Erie, Indiana. This was a strange one. It ran from one season, September 91 to December 93 on NBC, which I did not know about before researching this. But it later aired on Saturday mornings on Fox Kids in 1997 on reruns because it became so popular. And it was just one of them weird series where these kids move into this town and everything is off. So they got it, and only the two kids seem to know they're off. And the parents don't listen to them. But it actually had a spin-off that lasted one season called Erie, Indiana, The Other Dimension, which I seen an episode of that the other day. They actually talked to the kids from the first one through like this TV that looks through another dimension. So it was a really weird series, but it definitely fit in with Fox at the time, which was showing Goosebumps, which, spoiler alert, is coming. Number 14, Animaniacs. My wife, who's sitting over there, is raising her fist to Animaniacs. So she likes
the Animaniacs.
It ran for 5 seasons from September 93 to November 98. Originally on Fox Kids, and then it moved to WB, which was the network that produced it once WB got their own channel. But, you know, I talked about Pinky and the Brain before that was spun off from this. Animaniacs were just nuts. Yakko, Wacko, and...
Dot.
You sounded like Dot when you said that. Yeah, they lived... Apparently they were so crazy that they couldn't even fit in with the Looney Tunes. They were kept in the WB Tower, was the story. And they escaped one day and they made the show. And for some reason, one of them had to do the 50 U.S. states and capitals in a song. I remember that.
And the other one did the countries.
Yeah.
Yakko did the states, Wacko did the countries.
Now, who knows what Dot did?
I don't know.
Number 13, Alf the Animated Series. This ran for 2 seasons from September 87 to January 89 on NBC. And of course it's spun off from the popular Alf show. I just talked about that earlier when I was talking about Alf Tales. It basically featured Alf on Melmac. You know, it was before he got to Earth, before his planet blew up. You know, his girlfriend Rhonda was there and all his friends, and do the crazy stuff you'd expect. And there'd be the intro was funny. It had singing cats in it. They didn't realize they were about to be eaten by Alf. Coming in at number 12 is Hercules the Animated Series. It lasted 2 seasons from August 98 to March 99 on ABC, and of course based on the Hercules movie, which was super popular. My favorite Disney movie of all time. It had... Basically it was Hercules in hero school as like a teenager, as if he actually went to that. Everybody seen the movie knows he didn't, but we'll just pretend just to make a cartoon series. It was actually a pretty good series. He had, of course, like other cartoons, they can't just have just the characters from that. Obviously, Danny DeVito wasn't going to come back and do the voice. So he had his friends that he met in hero school, and they were all trying to be heroes too. So definitely a good cartoon. Like I said, my favorite Disney movie of all time. Number 11 is Alvin and the Chipmunks. This one ran from 8 seasons, September 83 to December 1990 on NBC. And the final season was actually renamed to Chipmunks Go to the Movies, which had basically the Chipmunks doing spoofs of popular movies. But everybody knows Alvin and the Chipmunks from way back in the 50s. The sped up voices that you could actually, if you own, back in the 80s and 90s, you own a tape player, you own a dual cassette deck, you could actually record from one tape to another, but do a switch it's called high-speed dubbing, and just as I know it, making chipmunk voices. You could actually record it, and it would record it in chipmunk voices, but it would actually play normal. So you would listen to it the whole time, die laughing. They also had a slow one too. It looked like chipmunks on like demonic or something. But anyway, everybody knows Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. And this cartoon series, there's been multiple ones, but this one was actually the ones that introduced the Chipettes. If you remember them, it was like their sidekick, girlfriend things, whatever you want to call them.
Their rivals.
Their rivals, that's right. They hated them because they were always like outshining them at everything, singing or acting, or I forgot about that part. See, we needed the guest in the background, the fact checker. Coming in at number 10. Gotta do it. Muppet Babies. Yes, I have to do that every time I talk about this cartoon. It ran for 8 seasons from September 84 to November 91 on CBS. And of course, I've talked about it before. My experience with watching it was on Nickelodeon. But everybody loves the Muppet Babies. What? My dog loves the Muppet Babies. You've been in enough videos, Kippen. He went away sadly. Anyway, the Muppet Babies were basically the Sesame Street, not Sesame Street, the Muppet characters, just in baby form. You always had the nanny, you'd only see her legs, you never see her face, and it'd just be their adventures basically being watched by the nanny, and they'd pretend they were in Star Wars and all this other stuff. I've talked about it before, I don't care for the Muppet Show or any of the Muppet movies, but I love the Muppet Babies, not the remake.
My favorite was Gonzo, with his long nose.
Mine too. Animal was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, a lot of people's favorites probably either Kermit or Miss Piggy, because they're the most popular ones. But.
Or Fozzie, the
yeah, Waka Waka Waka! Get tomatoes thrown at him. Rolf?
Rolf.
Yeah. Rolf, you always talk like this. I imagine Carlos would talk. My dog Carlos. Anyway, coming in at number 9, we're in the top 10 now.
We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony, and in this cartoony,
number 9, Tiny Toon Adventures. My dog Tiny thinks I'm gonna call him here. It ran for 3 seasons from September 90 to December 92. It was originally started in a syndication, but moved to Fox Kids starting in season 3, and basically another one from the Looney Tunes universe. It was basically like the Looney Tunes school where you went to learn how to be Looney Tunes, I guess. Buster and Babs and Elmira, the little witch, I'll be nice, that was always tormenting them, and just basically the Looney Tunes, and I'm not exactly kid form. I don't know what you'd call it. Teenagers. Whatever they were.
Kid form, they just weren't baby form.
Yeah, and they weren't the actual like Bugs Bunny. It was Buster Bunny. It was a different character. But basically, the Looney Tunes character was supposed to be like the professors at the university, but you hardly ever saw them. But coming in at number 8, people probably think I would have put this first, but I actually put it at number 8. Is Goosebumps. It actually ran for 4 seasons from October 1995 to November 1998. And originally aired on Friday nights and then moved to Saturday morning on Fox Kids. Obviously love the Goosebumps book series, but the TV show was like a different level. Especially that first one that came out on I remember it was the Friday before Halloween when they came out, the very first episode, The Haunted Mask. It was like a huge deal. R.L. Stine was on there, because he'd be on there sometimes anyway, but he'd introduce it, and it was like a 2-part series or something, either 2 or 3 parts, I think 2. But they were both on the same night, and it was like, growing up with Are You Afraid of the Dark, that was like, this thing is awesome. And, you know, obviously they made a ton more Goosebump books, and they made the movies, so I enjoyed the first 2 movies. I think there's a new Goosebumps series out now. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's any good, but we'll see. And coming in at number 7, is Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies. They actually ran in some form from April 1930 to June 2014 is how long of a stretch that ran for Looney Tunes. Merry Melodies went from August 31 to June of 1997. The original ones ran, like I said, it was either, depending on what time period or what channel you watched even, it was Looney Tunes or Merry Melodies. And they had slightly different theme songs. Coming in now, number 6, Life with Louie.
All right.
Let me tell you about my family.
Hey, here we go now, it's bedtime again. Let's take a look and see what's happening. Roller coaster ride, no surprise, it's Life with Louie.
Everybody knows I love Louie Anderson, especially from Coming to America, because he's washing the lettuce. But this was a cartoon. It ran for 3 seasons, from September 1995 to March 1998 on Fox Kids. It's basically, it was created by Louie Anderson, as basically him as a kid, and some of the stuff he went through with his strict father and his mother that was just always, she didn't seem to know what was going on half the time, and brother and sister he didn't get along with, and all the bullies at school. But the one I always remember, the episode where he's always whining to his mom, because Louie, anytime Louie talks, he whines, "Can't lick the butter." That was the one I remember the most from that. But now we're going to get into the top 5. Coming in at number 5.
Welcome, creeps, to Secrets of the Crypt Keeper's Haunted House. Greetings from Universal Studios, Florida, kiddies.
Is Secrets of the Crypt Keeper's Haunted House. Big shock there, Crypt Keeper in the top 5. It only ran 1 season from 1996 to 97 on CBS. And it was basically like Nick Arcade, where you could actually be in the... It's like a game show, basically, where there'd be a host that would ask questions, and a Crypt Keeper would make his little comments off screen, all his usual one-liners, and basically, he wasn't saying he hopes the kids die, but basically everything but that, because you couldn't say that on kids' TV. But he was hoping they'd lose. But the kids would go through, and there'd be like these computer animated things they have to make it through, and or answer questions, and it was like a combination between Nick Arcade and
Legend of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah, Legend of the Hidden Temple. Thank you for my side commentator that only seen 1 episode of it. That said she never even heard of it until a couple weeks ago.
No, I hadn't. I didn't exist it.
What am I gonna do with her? They're very hard to find episodes. They're only on YouTube, and basically only on there for people that uploaded their tapes from the time, or I think one of them was actually one of the contestants that had it on tape and uploaded it. Anyway, coming in at number 4, which people probably thought would be number 1 or higher, is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The original 3 seasons from this ran from 1993 to 95. Then we get the mini-series of the Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, which is kind of took place between, I think, seasons 3 and 4. Then season 4 was Power Rangers Zeo. Season 5 was Power Rangers Turbo, which they would create the Turbo movie based on that, or for that. And season 6 was Power Rangers in Space. Season 7, Lost Galaxy, was the first that I didn't watch because I stopped kind of in the middle of the In Space. If you know me with Leprechaun in Space or any of the In Space anything, I check out when they go to space. But it would continue for 30 more seasons and variations. There'd be Wild Force, and they'd be running through the jungle in one, and there'd be robots in one, and they'd be in space again, and there'd be vehicles in this one. But anyway, it was originally on Fox, and it would move to ABC in season 10, then to Toon Disney, ABC Family, Nickelodeon, and finally Netflix. But the original 3 seasons are the ones that I have on the list. There's so much I could talk about with those. You know, the original Rangers with the Green Ranger Tommy, who was originally Rita's bad ranger, but he turned good. But because he was a bad ranger, his power was limited. Eventually ran out. And then, of course, the Rangers ended up getting defeated by Lord Zed, who came and took over for Rita. Until Rita gave him a love potion, if I can talk. A love potion that tricked him into marrying her. And they combined. But anyway, they got the Thunder Megazords for the 2nd season. And they also introduced Tommy as the new White Ranger, which was like a huge reveal. Like, everybody's waiting to find out who the White Ranger was. You go next week and it's Tommy. Everybody's like, yay, Tommy's back, because they thought he was like left the show. And you know, the Rangers would come and go, and there'd be different versions, but the first or the 2nd season are always the best of those. And of course, love the Power Rangers movie with Mr. Ooze, Ivan Ooze, as you call him, Dr. Goo. But moving on now to number 3, Tales from the Crypt Keeper. This ran for 3 seasons from September 93 to December 1999. The first 2 seasons were on ABC. Then it was kind of like off the air for 5 years and brought back for 1 season on CBS. Obviously, the kids' version of Tales from the Crypt. Obviously, it was animated. Plus, they made the Crypt Keeper green, and they made him funnier and not as evil, and they didn't have him like killing people. But starting with the 2nd season, you got to actually meet the 2 other ones that were iconic with Crypt Keeper. That was the Old Witch and the Vault Keeper, which from the 1950s EC comic books, Tales from the Crypt, The Haunt of Fear, and The Vault of Horror. But they would try to take over the show each week, and the Witch would invariably get the best of them both. But then sometimes Crypt Keeper would win, and he'd go on vacation, the Vault Keeper would take over. It brought a lot of fun to the opening segments. Of course, just like with Tales from the Crypt, everybody loved the opening and the ending even more than the stories, but the stories were good, and they were based on the EC comics too. But obviously, kid versions of those stories. Now, coming in at number 2, probably surprising for some people, is Batman the Animated Series. September 95 on Fox Kids. This was like such a great cartoon. Now, like I said before, I'm not into any of the superhero stuff, but the X-Men the Animated Series and Batman the Animated Series I was always watching. Sometimes I'd watch the Spider-Man one too, but I wasn't as into that. But I mean, there is so much iconic from this animated series. It won all kinds of awards. It was the first time I'd ever seen Two-Face and some of those villains on there. Of course, they would be later in one of the other movies. But my first experience with Batman was obviously the 60s cheesy version, the TV show and the movie with Adam West. And then starting in '89 with Batman, with Michael Keaton as Batman. You know, those 90s Batman movies were great. But that series, like, almost got number 1, but there was one that was slightly above that. And coming in at number 1, can you guess what my number 1 favorite Saturday morning cartoon or TV show is?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a half shell. Turtle power.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it beat out some of my other favorites like Goosebumps, Crypt Keeper, Power Rangers. But they ran 10 seasons from December 87 to November 96. And it started off Saturday mornings, and then in syndication it ended up on CBS from season 4 on. But everybody knows the Turtles cartoon. Of course, it started with comic books, but that was when it became really popular, as that Saturday morning cartoon with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with the bad guys, Shredder and Krang, and the Foot Clan, and you got to go to the Technodrome and Dimension X, and of course Master Splinter was their leader, and they'd end up meeting the woman on the news, April from Channel 6, and her cameraman Vernon, that was always he was just weird. Like, he always looked like he didn't want to be there, but at the same time he's just always there filming everything that was going on. But of course Bebop and Rocksteady, two of my favorite villains. I actually own the whole series on DVD. I just haven't even watched any of it yet. But of course, can't talk about the Turtles without talking about the 3 movies from the 90s. I just talked about the 3rd movie on my podcast this past week, March 93, the 3rd Turtles movie, and people didn't like that as much as the first 2. Of course, the first one was the best, and then 2, The Secret of the Ooze, was just as good. The 3rd one's definitely, I would put it 3rd, but I don't hate it as much as some people do. The other 2 movies they came out with since were okay. The one called TMNT, it was okay. And the second one they came out with, where they had Bebop and Rocksteady, Sheamus from the WWE played one of them. I can't remember if he was Bebop or Rocksteady, but that was okay. But the all-time greatest Turtles thing ever created was the Turtles concert, and I don't care what anybody says, the Turtles concert coming out of our Shells tour is the greatest thing ever created in history, and by default is the greatest Saturday morning cartoon ever. Yes, it was on pay-per-view, but we're going to leave you with that. And I'm skipping stones. Anyway.
Did you mention G.I. Joe?
Nope.
And
I mentioned why. It was technically not a Saturday morning cartoon on one of the networks.
Oh.
I mentioned that at the beginning because everybody would say, "Where's G.I. Joe?" And see, just like you did.
And Transformers.
Nope, because it wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, the 2 of them. That's the one I forgot to talk about though, because a lot of, like I said, you weren't here obviously when I started, but a lot of them that people picture as Saturday morning cartoons weren't actually on Saturday mornings. They were on other channels, maybe Saturday mornings, or they were on like during the weekdays. They could be in the morning or afternoon or whatever, but that's why they didn't make the list. Someday I'll do a top cartoons one. But that's our bonus episode. You got any thoughts you want to add? What's your favorite one? I'll tell you if it counts to the list by the criteria. Actually, my criteria is,
David the Gnome.
David the Gnome was Nickelodeon. It was real high on my list, but also my criteria for this is it had to have been on from the time I was alive to 2000. Like if it was something was just on in the 70s and didn't continue, I didn't include it. She's thinking. She put the Jeopardy music. Hey, there's one. Top game shows I've seen as a kid, and not just Nickelodeon ones. While she's thinking of it, I'll tell you about our bonus episode coming for June. It's going to be, since I didn't do one for Mother's Day, it's going to be all Mother's Day and Father's Day. And I'll be telling stories about my mom and dad, and she'll be telling stories separately on her own about hers. And just, like, if you don't know me or her, you probably won't want to watch this episode because you won't know any of the people we're talking about, like this one. So you might want to skip that one, but that's fine. I don't care. Share it anyway in case somebody knows me or somebody wants to have me committed to some mental home, I'm sure.
Smurfs.
Yes, the Smurfs are on my list. I can't remember where. I already talked about it. I'll try to find it.
Tom and Jerry?
Yep. Well, Tom and Jerry Kids. The actual Tom and Jerry wasn't one of them, but...
Scooby-Doo?
Yep, Scooby-Doo was on there. Yeah, the Smurfs is actually 32 on my list. It would be higher on yours.
Flintstones? Jetsons?
Flintstone Kids. Jetsons wasn't on during my... Remember the rules is during the time I was alive. It was a Saturday morning cartoon a long time ago.
Care Bears.
Actually, it wasn't on mine. I don't know if it was a Saturday, but it wouldn't have been on mine because I never watched it.
Bobby's World.
Bobby's World, yes. But definitely, yep, DuckTales was on there, and Gargoyles. I know they're your favorites. I'm saying it again and California Raisins.
Garfield.
Yep, Garfield and Friends and Heathcliff. People watching us like, you already said all this. Dennis the Menace. All of them. Sonic the Hedgehog, the Mario Brothers cartoons. But anyway, thank you for joining us, and check out all my other videos on here. Weekly podcast, and finally getting this up. I meant to get it up at the beginning of the month. It's coming up probably the last day of the month. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.